Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be going on a bit of a journey into a topic you might not be familiar with.
Yeah.
It's all about how the Quran views the pursuit of knowledge. And even if you know nothing about the Quran,
Right.
stick with us.
It's going to be fascinating.
It's more fascinating than you might think, and we're going to uncover some surprising insights.
Absolutely. And we'll be exploring excerpts from a tafsir,
Okay.
which is essentially a commentary that explains the Quran's verses.
Like a study guide.
Yeah, think of it like having a knowledgeable guide to help us understand the deeper meaning.
Exactly. And just so you know, we're focusing on what the Quran itself says about knowledge.
Yes.
Not on any particular interpretations or opinions.
Exactly.
First up, the Quran doesn't just encourage seeking knowledge. It's considered a fundamental duty for every Muslim, almost like breathing,
Right.
essential for spiritual growth.
Right.
So how essential, this pursuit of knowledge?
Hmm.
Is it really as vital as, say, prayer?
Yeah, you can definitely argue that.
Yeah.
The Quran intertwines faith with the pursuit of knowledge.
Okay.
Viewing it as a path to better understand God's creation and our place within it. It's not just about memorizing facts, but about gaining a deeper understanding of the world around us. And
Right.
there are specific verses in the Quran that highlight this importance, for example.
Okay.
One verse asks, "Are those who know equal to those who do not know?" This simple question really underscores the high value placed on knowledge.
That's a thought-provoking question. It definitely makes you think about the difference between simply existing versus truly understanding the world around you.
Yeah.
So if acquiring knowledge is so important,
Yeah.
does the Quran specify what kind of knowledge Muslims should pursue?
You know what's fascinating here is that the Quran doesn't limit the types of knowledge you should seek.
Okay.
It actually encourages exploration in a wide range of fields. Everything from science and history to spirituality.
So it's not just about religious knowledge.
No, not at all.
That's pretty surprising.
The Quran emphasizes that understanding the natural world,
Yeah.
human behavior, and even different cultures can lead to a deeper appreciation of God's wisdom and the interconnectedness of creation.
It's almost like saying that every field of study, from biology to art to literature,
Right.
has something to teach us about the divine.
That's a great way to put it. And this open approach to knowledge has contributed to a rich history of scholarship and intellectual curiosity within Islamic tradition.
Now, we've talked about what the Quran says about seeking knowledge, but what about the opposite? What does the Quran say about ignorance, the state of not knowing?
Well, if we connect the bigger picture,
Okay.
you'll see that the Quran links ignorance with negativity.
Okay.
It's seen as something that can prevent people from reaching their full potential and making informed decisions.
It's that sinking feeling when you realize you don't know something and it's like a wall between you and truly understanding something important, right?
Yeah.
Ignorance can hold you back.
Exactly. The Quran views the pursuit of knowledge as a path to overcome that wall, leading to liberation and enlightenment. By gaining knowledge, you free yourself from the limitations of ignorance and become empowered to make positive contributions to society.
So it's not just about personal growth,
Right.
but also about impacting the world around you.
Absolutely.
I'm starting to see how these ideas connect.
And this leads us to another crucial point.
Yeah.
The responsibility that comes with knowledge.
Okay, now we're getting to the heart of the matter because knowledge, is power, right?
Yes.
And as we all know, power can be used for good or for bad. So what guidance does the Quran offer on this?
The Quran is very clear that knowledge isn't just about collecting facts. It comes with a moral obligation. It emphasizes using knowledge for good, promoting justice, serving others, and contributing to the betterment of humanity.
So it's a call to action.
Yes.
You can't just sit on what you learn.
Yeah.
You're obligated to UEC it to make a positive impact.
Precisely, it challenges you to reflect on how your own WN knowledge can benefit others and contribute to a more just and compassionate world.
You can't just become a know-it-all and hoard information.
Right.
You actually have to do something with it. I like that.
Exactly. Imagine a doctor who has all the medical knowledge in the world but chooses not to treat patients.
Yeah.
All that knowledge is essentially wasted.
It's a powerful way to put it in the way. It's like the Quran is saying that knowledge is a gift, and you're expected to share that gift with others.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. It encourages us to see knowledge as a means to uplift and empower not just ourselves, but those around us as well.
This whole conversation is really shifting my perspective on learning. It's not just about self-improvement.
Right.
It's about responsibility service, making the world better.
Mhm.
Knowledge almost has a social dimension to it.
Exactly. The Quran emphasizes that we are part of a larger community, and our knowledge should be used to benefit that community.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not just about personal achievement. It's about contributing to the collective good.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We've talked about how the Quran views seeking knowledge as a duty, how it encourages exploration in diverse fields, and how it emphasizes the responsibility that comes with knowledge.
hmm
What else does the Quran highlight about this topic?
One of the most important takeaways is this idea of knowledge as a lifelong journey,
Okay.
not a destination.
Okay.
The Quran encourages asking questions, reflecting on what you learn, and constantly striving for greater understanding.
You mean never stop learning?
Yeah,
Always be curious.
exactly. The more you learn, the more you realize how much you don't know.
Right.
The Quran sees intellectual curiosity as a virtue and encourages us to never become complacent in our learning.
It's like the universe itself is this massive, ever-expanding library, and we're constantly exploring its shelves, discovering new books, new ideas, new perspectives.
That's a wonderful analogy, and the Quran encourages us to approach this exploration with open minds and a thirst for discovery.
This is really making me think about my own approach to learning and how I use the knowledge I gain.
It's a powerful message that transcends religious boundaries.
Yeah.
It speaks to the core of what it means to be a lifelong learner and a responsible member of society.
So what does all of this mean for someone who might not be familiar with the Quran or Islam?
Well, I think the Quran's perspective on knowledge offers a valuable lesson for everyone.
Okay.
It reminds us that knowledge is a powerful tool that should be used for good. It also encourages us to be curious, to never stop learning, and to use our knowledge to make a positive impact on the world around us.
I think a lot of people might be surprised to hear this.
Yeah.
There could be so many misconceptions about different religions and cultures.
You're absolutely right, but the pursuit of knowledge is a universal human endeavor. And the Quran's perspective offers valuable insights that can benefit all of us, no matter our background.
This deep dive has definitely given me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much wisdom can be found in these ancient texts, even if they come from a tradition you might not be familiar with.
Absolutely. The pursuit of knowledge is something that connects us all, and the Quran's emphasis on using knowledge for good and approaching learning with humility are messages that resonate deeply regardless of one's beliefs.
And here's something I think is worth pondering as you continue your journey of knowledge. The Quran often uses metaphors to describe the world around us.
Yeah,
What if we started viewing everything,
right.
from nature to our daily interactions,
Yes.
as opportunities to learn and grow? What insights might we uncover? Food for thought. We'll be right back after a quick break.
It's fascinating how the Quran emphasizes this idea of active engagement.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just passively receive information.
Right?
You have to actively seek it out, question it, and reflect on its implications.
It's like being a detective,
Yeah,
constantly searching for clues and piecing together the puzzle of knowledge.
that's a great analogy. And the Quran actually provides us with some tools to aid in our investigation. For instance, it stresses the importance of observation and contemplation.
So it's not just about reading books,
Right.
but also about paying attention to the world around us,
Yes.
experiencing things firsthand.
Absolutely. The Quran encourages us to observe nature, study human behavior, and even learn from our own mistakes. It's like saying that every moment can be a learning opportunity,
Okay.
whether we're watching a sunset, having a conversation, or even making a mistake.
You know, I've always struggled with making mistakes.
Yeah.
I tend to beat myself up about them. But what you're saying is making me think about them in a new light. Like maybe they're not failures, but opportunities for growth.
That's exactly the kind of shift in perspective the Quran encourages.
Okay.
It invites us to see the world through a lens of curiosity and wonder, recognizing that there's always more to learn and discover.
Reminds me of that saying, the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. The more you learn, the more you realize there's still so much more out there.
Exactly. And that realization should fuel our desire to keep learning, to keep asking questions, and to keep exploring the vast universe of knowledge.
Yeah.
It's a humbling thought, but also incredibly exciting.
It is exciting. You know, sometimes learning can feel like a chore,
Yeah.
but the way you're describing it,
Yeah.
it sounds like an adventure.
That's a key point. The Quran portrays knowledge as a source of delight. something to be cherished and celebrated.
Hmm.
It's not about dry academic study. It's about embracing the adventure of discovery.
I love to think about those aha moments when you finally grasp a concept or make a new connection.
Yes,
There's a feeling of pure joy in those moments.
exactly. And the Quran encourages us to seek out those moments, to revel in the process of learning, and to appreciate the beauty of knowledge itself.
It's so refreshing to hear knowledge spoken about in this way. It's often presented as this heavy burden you have to carry, this obligation that you have to fulfill.
Yes, the Quran reminds us that learning can be fun, enriching, and deeply fulfilling.
Hmm.
It's about cultivating a love of learning that stays with you throughout your life.
I think that's something we often lose sight of as we get older.
Yeah.
We get bogged down with responsibilities and routines and forget the simple joy of learning something new.
You're right. The Quran emphasizes that it's never too late to rediscover that joy. Learning shouldn't just be about cramming for a test or acquiring knowledge for purely practical purposes.
Right.
It's about nourishing your mind and soul with the wonders of knowledge.
Yeah.
And this approach to learning can have a profound impact on our lives.
So how does that work?
Well-
How does approaching learning with joy and curiosity actually change things?
Well, when we approach learning with joy and curiosity, we're more likely to be engaged to retain information and to apply what we learn in meaningful ways. It's not just about filling our heads with facts, it's about transforming ourselves and the world around us.
It sounds like it's about taking that knowledge and turning it into action, using it to make a real difference.
That's right. And this transformative power of knowledge is a central theme in the Quran.
Okay.
It's not just about acquiring knowledge for knowledge's sake. It's about using it to improve ourselves and our communities.
So we've talked about the importance of seeking knowledge, the joy of learning, and the responsibility that comes with knowledge. Is there anything else we should consider?
There's another aspect of the Quran's perspective that I think is worth exploring. It's the idea of humility.
Humility.
Yeah.
How does that tie into the pursuit of knowledge?
Well, the Quran reminds us that no matter how much we learn, we'll never know everything.
Right.
There's always going to be more to discover, and this realization should foster a sense of humility in us,
Okay.
an awareness of the limitations of our own knowledge.
It's about recognizing that we don't have all the answers,
Yes.
that there's always room for growth and learning, right?
Exactly, and this humility is essential for continued learning. When we're humble, we're more open to new ideas, more willing to admit when we're wrong, and more eager to learn from others.
It makes sense we're less likely to get stuck in our own ways thinking we know it all.
Right.
Humility keeps us open and curious.
Precisely. Humility allows us to approach learning with a beginner's mind, with a sense of curiosity and wonder, even when we're dealing with familiar topics. It's about being open to being wrong, to having our perspectives challenged, and to constantly expanding our understanding.
So the Quran is saying that knowledge and humility go hand in hand. It's not about becoming arrogant or puffed up with knowledge.
That's right. It's about recognizing that knowledge is a gift, a trust that should be used wisely and humbly,
Yeah.
and that the more we learn, the more we realize how much we still don't know.
That's a really profound insight.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that true knowledge should make us more humble, not less, and that humility is not a sign of weakness, but of strength.
Exactly. It's a sign of intellectual honesty and a deep desire to learn and grow. It's about recognizing that we're all on a journey of discovery together.
And that we can learn from each other regardless of our backgrounds, beliefs, or levels of knowledge.
Yeah.
I love how this all ties back to the idea of community and shared learning that we were discussing earlier.
It's a powerful message of unity and interconnectedness.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge is a shared human endeavor, and that we can all benefit from each other's insights and perspectives.
Wow, this deep dive has been incredible.
It has.
We've explored the Quran's emphasis on seeking knowledge, the joy of learning, the responsibility that comes with knowledge, and the importance of humility.
Yeah.
It's been really eye-opening.
I agree. It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you, and I'm sure our listeners have gained some valuable insights as well.
I hope so. This is heavy stuff to unpack, but it's so worth exploring. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Quran's perspective on knowledge.
It's been a fascinating journey so far, hasn't it?
Absolutely. We've already uncovered so much about how the Quran values seeking knowledge, the joy of learning, and the responsibility that comes with it.
And now we're going to shift gears a bit and look at some real-world examples of how these principles are put into practice within Islamic tradition.
This is where it all comes together.
Exactly.
So where do we start?
Well, let's begin with a fundamental aspect of Islam prayer. Did you know that even the act of prayer is intertwined with the pursuit of knowledge?
Really, I've always thought of prayer as more of a spiritual practice, a way to connect with the divine.
It is, of course, but the Quran emphasizes that true prayer requires understanding. You need to know what you're saying, why you're saying it, and who you're saying it to.
So it's not just about reciting words by rote.
Not at all before you can pray. You need to learn about the different postures, the
Mhm.
timings, the Arabic words, and their meanings.
It's like saying that knowledge is a prerequisite for meaningful prayer.
Exactly. And this principle extends to other aspects of Islamic practice as well. For example, giving charity or zakat is one of the 5 pillars of Islam.
Right, the foundational acts that every Muslim is expected to perform.
Precisely. But the Quran makes it clear that giving zakat effectively requires knowledge.
What kind of knowledge?
Well, you need to know who is eligible to receive zakat, what types of wealth are zakatable, and how to calculate the appropriate amount. It's a sophisticated system designed to ensure that resources are distributed fairly and that those in need are supported.
It's like a whole financial system with its own rules and regulations.
Exactly. And Muslims are encouraged to seek out this knowledge to ensure that their charitable giving is both meaningful and impactful.
So it's not just about writing a check. It's about understanding the principles behind zakat and applying them thoughtfully.
Precisely. And this emphasis on knowledge is reflected in the rich tradition of Islamic scholarship.
Oh, yes. I've heard about the incredible contributions that Muslim scholars have made to science, mathematics, medicine, and philosophy.
Absolutely. Historically, the Islamic world was a center of learning, attracting scholars from all over the globe.
What factors contributed to this flourishing of knowledge?
Well, the Quran's emphasis on seeking knowledge played a major role. It created a culture that valued intellectual curiosity, critical thinking, and the pursuit of truth.
It's like that thirst for knowledge became embedded in the very fabric of Islamic society.
Exactly. And this led to the establishment of universities, libraries, and research institutions across the Islamic world. These were hubs of learning where scholars could collaborate, exchange ideas, and advance their fields of study.
It's amazing to think about the impact of this scholarly tradition.
It really is. We can see the influence of Islamic scholarship in everything from architecture and astronomy to music and literature.
It's a legacy that continues to enrich our understanding of the world and our place within it.
It does, and it reminds us that knowledge is not just a personal pursuit, but a collective endeavor. It's about building on the work of those who came before us and contributing to the advancement of human understanding.
And passing that knowledge on to future generations. This deep dive has been so inspiring. It's given me a whole new appreciation for the Quran's perspective on knowledge and how these principles have shaped a rich tradition of learning and discovery. What are your final thoughts?
I think the key takeaway here is that the Quran views knowledge as a powerful force for good in the world. It encourages us to seek knowledge throughout our lives, to approach learning with joy and humility, and to use what we learn to make a positive impact on ourselves and our communities. This message transcends any specific faith or culture. It's a message that resonates with the human spirit itself, a reminder that we are all lifelong learners on a shared journey of discovery.
Beautifully said. And for our listeners, we encourage you to continue your own explorations of knowledge, whether you're delving into ancient texts, exploring scientific breakthroughs, or simply having curious conversations with the people around you. Remember the power of knowledge and inspire and transform. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Until next time, keep those minds sharp and those hearts open.